So welcome. I have to lower the expectations a little bit. Like many of you, I suffer from hay fever, and it affects my muscles, so it impairs my vision and my speech a little bit. But it doesn't affect my convictions in any way, so they're very strong. I am, as Epicule said, a professorial lecturer at this wonderful academic institution. I will walk you through some slides, and I've chosen a piece of the Alhambra to illustrate this. As you know, the Alhambra developed during the time of Conviva, the highlight of European history, when religion and cultures were able to coexist in a very fruitful manner. So I hope that can be the theme of my presentation as well. I will be making 5 points in my presentation. First, that Islam acts as the engine of integration of Muslims living in minority societies. That's obvious to most of you, but as I will explain, it's not to non-Muslims. This, and of course, Professor Gandus already illustrated that this morning, is part of a contract which is reciprocal, as I will also illustrate, because it forces the states, the receiving states, to respect the rights of Muslims, especially the freedom of religion. And unfortunately, and again, Professor Aquinus already illustrated that this morning, in Western Europe, we're now facing a time where politicians are not keeping their part of the agreement. And my position today will be that instead for Muslims also to regain on their commitments, they should redouble their efforts. That's part of Islamic law and also to the benefit of the Muslim community. And my final point will be, how can we as a university help our Muslim friends to do so? Well, this is obvious to most of you. If you're a Muslim and you go to a Muslim minority country, under Islamic law, you're supposed to abide by the laws of the country, to do your best to fit in under an agreement covered by Aman, mutual security. And of course, as I said, it's reciprocal, so the state has to make sure that you can enjoy the freedom of religion and pursue Sharia. When you apply for a visa or a residence permit or citizenship, you enter as a Muslim into that contract. And interestingly, research shows that Muslims are doing a terrific job at that. They participate in voluntary work, they're building up the communities of which they are part, they're working, they're paying taxes. In most cases, they're model citizens. Unfortunately, politicians in the West, Western Europe, especially in this country, are not living up to their obligations under Islamic law and under their own law. The pretext that you see often expressed is that Muslims are unsuitable for integration or not doing their best. That, of course, is hypocrisy. The states themselves are not working hard to keep their part of the deal. But they don't see it that way. So they add all kinds of restrictions and requirements that Muslims have to meet to be part of the society. When you enter the country now in the Netherlands, you have to sign up to a contract which obliges you to adopt certain values. We are currently in a discussion, which is before the Parliament, to limit the right of mosques in the Netherlands to receive funding from foreign donors. I'm actually very actively involved in this discussion together with some Muslim organizations. And as we know in this community, increasingly restrictions are being brought on religious slaughter. There's even a new bill before Parliament that bans religious slaughter altogether. We have to fight that, of course. So this is the state of the situation that we're facing today, politicians not keeping their part of the agreement, and I've given you some examples of that. What should the reply be of our Muslim fellow countrymen? When I talk to my students and I talk to my Muslim friends, many of them are pessimistic. And they feel that perhaps they're not welcome and should not work hard towards the integration obligation under Islam.
Except me.
Of course, there are very good exceptions.
Thank you.
It's only a minority, I have to say. And my advice to them always is, don't give up. Redouble your efforts. And I will explain why this is a duty under Islamic law and also to the benefit of the Muslim community and, of course, the society as a whole. And that will result in Islam being an engine for integration 2.0. I would like to mention 4 reasons. First of all, a contract assumes reciprocity. But under Islamic law, reciprocity doesn't mean tit for tat. As a Muslim, you have to do more than simply meet what the others are doing. If your enemy doesn't respect the honor of women, doesn't respect the rights of children, doesn't respect the rights of prisoners of war, as a Muslim you cannot do the same. So Muslims have a much more honorable way of interpreting reciprocity, and therefore I would say we should react in a positive way rather than a negative way to these provocations from Western politicians. Then, in my view, integrating means that you don't only have all kinds of opportunities to participate, but you should also use them. That's part, in my view, also of Islamic law. And third, this is very important, often forgotten, these political participation opportunities allow Muslims to be part of the government. So if the Dutch government is not performing up to standard towards its Muslim minority, Muslims can actually impact that position. And we should do so, why not? So we should make much more effective use of these participatory opportunities that we have as a Muslim community in the Netherlands and Western Europe. And of course, finally, this is obvious to you, it will make it easier to engage in dawah. In my position, I feel strengthened by a fatwa issued by Sheikh Al-Awadi in 2000. And he says it's a fatwa on participation by American Muslims in the political system. By all means participate, because it will protect your rights, give support to the causes we favor, provide correct information about Islam, and of course showcase Islamic values. So for those reasons, he urges American Muslims to participate. And he adds 2 very important comments. First, it is up to Muslims in Muslim minority countries to form a stable Muslim Islamic community which is then able to represent Islam to the majority. That's very important. Yeah. And then I think the following comment is crucial. Participation by Muslims in a Muslim minority country is not only a right that you can abandon, it's a duty you have to follow. And this, I think, is a crucial comment I Sheikh Al-Awadi. Now, as a university, we can support these attempts to redouble the efforts to integrate. And we can do that in the area of research, teaching, and of course support for Muslim organizations. I will just give you a few brief examples. First of all, research. I would call on this university to start a project that I would call More Islam. We can demonstrate through our research how Islam serves as an engine for integration. And again, this is obvious to all Muslims in this room, but non-Muslims are totally unaware of this, especially politicians. So we have to work on that, because we can take away all these prejudices of politicians. But they work harder to keep their end of the agreement. Muslims will do the same, and then we're all happy. Then Sheikh Al-Alani, in his fatwa, I think rightly pointed out that within the Muslim community, not everybody will welcome participation, especially by young Muslims, with people who share other worldviews and religions. It might be helpful to also instill in these young people a deepening of their faith, because then they will be more capable of interacting. So the project should also involve that, which of course is natural to an institution like this. Then, as I notice in the teaching that I do here, many young Muslims will come up to these interactions with questions which they cannot always get answers from their religious leaders in the mosque. So we also have to enhance the capability of our religious leaders to deal with these questions. Then we should show empirically, which I think is the foregone conclusion actually, but we have to do it as academics, that Muslims have a more profound drive to integrate than other religious groups. And that there's also a correlation to a positive or negative attitude of politicians. Teaching. I believe that's very important for this institution to train young people to become more effective in representing the interests of the Muslim community within the democratic rule of law process. I do that a lot, also outside this institution, but I think that this institution can play a leading role in that. And then finally, community outreach. We should support projects set up by the community by lending our knowledge. I will give you a few brief examples. On 7 May, we had a wonderful meeting in this building, co-hosted by the university, to discuss the current attempts, political attempts to curb religious thought. A wonderful meeting. On the 23rd of June, we will have a meeting. For the very first time, we will bring all mosque associations in the Netherlands together in the same room to get to know each other and to see whether we can do some things more coordinated in the future. Well, there can be other initiatives like enhancing security of mosques, organ donation, a very hot topic now in the Netherlands, and so forth and so on. So there's a very important role for our university as well. Thank you so much for your attention.